So I had a dream that I'd have a job that I would love, that I'd marry a wonderful woman, buy a nice house, have a happy and healthy family, and so on. Nothing extravagant, probably the same dream many of you have. 25 years ago, I started living the dream. I met an ex-colleague of mine for lunch one day and he said, "Hey Mark, I started working at this exciting startup called Ariba. The people here are brilliant. You would be a good fit. You should seriously consider it." So I went home that night, grabbed my phone, and I started Googling about Ariba. Yeah, no. Back then, there was no Google. In fact, there were no cell phones. There was barely any internet at that point. At least not as we know it today. And it's not like you could go to the local library to research a startup. Basically, it was a blind leap of faith. After much thought, I decided I was interested and asked him to set up an interview. Next day, he said forget the interview and gave me an offer letter to be a consultant at Ariba. Before I knew it, I was on a plane to Sunnyvale, California to meet Keith Krach, the CEO of Ariba, for lunch. He welcomed me to the team of 230 people, handed me a turkey sandwich, told me to get ready for some scary fun, and explained that the success of Ariba depended on my ability to execute.
That is our vision, our mission, our values, our team rules, long-term goals, strategy, all boil down to lasercution. Execution, we call it lasercution, the focus.
From that day on, March 22nd, 1999, I got on the Ariba roller coaster. I started traveling the country from one Fortune 500 customer to the next, helping them enable Ariba. In some ways, my Ariba career started out like the movie Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. My first project was at General Motors in Detroit in the middle of winter, and I survived my flight skidding off the runway in a snowstorm. I remember my heart beating out of my chest as I walked through the blizzard to the terminal after departing the plane. Then there was a time I was driving at 2 a.m. in the middle of nowhere in South Carolina to get to Sunoco Products, who, in case you don't know it, is famous for the tubes, cardboard tubes in the middle of toilet paper. And as I'm driving, a stray dog runs out into the middle of the highway, and I narrowly avoid a serious multi-car accident with fatalities. Needless to say, I needed to use this after that. Then days after 9/11, Ariba needed me to be in California for some important meetings. And since air travel was next to impossible, my boss called me up and said he found another way for me to get to California. He booked me a train ride. Initially, I thanked him, until I found out it was a 4-day train ride. And then there was a time at Verizon in New York City, after a huge team of 20 Arthur Andersen consultants refused to report to work due to Verizon's labor strike. Ariba asked me to cross an angry picket line so that the multi-million-dollar project that was contingent on implementing Ariba within 30 days for Verizon's 300,000 user base could remain on schedule. So every day, as I turned the corner on 33rd Street and 2nd Avenue with a Verizon colleague by my side, I put on my hoodie and glasses, I closed my mouth, and I'd run past the giant inflatable rats as the crowd screamed obscenities, threw bottles, and spit at people. Whatever it took, we did it. And we always delivered, just like we did at Verizon. Despite all of that, in my travels, I had the pleasure of meeting people from all walks of life across the US, from big cities to small town America. No matter what was happening with their Ariba software, I always made time to talk to them about their families and lives. Many times they invited me back to their houses to meet their kids or pets or parents, and many times they made me some food, from chili and banana bread in Hartsville, South Carolina, to barbecue in Dallas, Texas, to hot dogs and sprinkled meat in Detroit, Michigan. I always fathomed that the power of the Ariba network, for not only being this unsurpassed transactional business network, but for the goodness and generosity that it generated and the positive social change it created from the network of people that it touched. Within a year of starting Ariba, I bought a small house near Princeton, New Jersey, married my girlfriend Lisa in the backyard, got our first dog, and before long, welcomed our son Harrison into the world. He was the joy of our lives. I'll never forget the compliment we received from my wife's great aunt Shirley.
"He's so gorgeous. He doesn't look like either one of you."
Time flew by, and it didn't take long before he was walking and talking. But when Harrison turned 2, something changed. He stopped responding to his name and lost almost all of his words. I'll never forget the day he was diagnosed with autism. We asked the doctors what specialists we could see or medications he could take to help him, and they said, there are none. It's genetic. There's nothing you can do. He may never talk again. He probably will never learn to read. When we got home from that meeting, my wife and I just held each other and wept for hours, maybe more than some people weep in a lifetime. But we both awoke the next day with a fervor to do everything we could for Harrison and to be his biggest advocate. And we agreed from that day forward, we'd do everything together. We didn't dream much after that. It's hard to dream when your mind is filled with the day-to-day tasks associated with having a special needs child. Doctor visits, therapy sessions, the search for scientific research to find the best treatments, the sleepless nights and years, the helplessness when your child is crying but can't communicate to tell you why, and the looks. The looks from people in the community who couldn't be bothered by someone who was different, but even more from friends and family who never really wanted to try to understand. I went to a colleague at Ariba and explained what was going on and said, look, I can't travel anymore. I need to be home for my son and to support my wife. She said she understood and would see what she could do. So at the next company offsite meeting, I was sitting on a bus waiting for them to shuttle us to a restaurant for the evening activities, and the head of North American Technical Sports got on the bus and said, where's Huguenin? I felt like I was back on the school bus as all my colleagues started chanting that I was in trouble. Afraid to say anything, I shyly raised my hand. She said, come with me. She escorted me to a fancy BMW and said, get in. I did. I fastened my seatbelt and she slowly started to pull away. She said, I heard about what's been going on with you and your family. I shook my head, yes. She said, I could take you back and you can continue on that slow consulting bus ride. Or, as she stepped on the gas, the car sped up to 100 miles an hour, my head plastered to the seat, wind crashing against my face, holding on for dear life. She said, you could join us in support and we could get you helping many customers at a time instead of just one, and you could be there for your family. How does that sound? I said, perfect, as she locked up the brakes and screeched the car to a halt at the restaurant. And so began my career in support. I got to work from home, helping the biggest customers doing the same things I used to, which, mind you, back then, remote work was unheard of. In the end, I kind of became this Ariba urban legend, fixing customer problems without them ever seeing me. In fact, many customers demanded to meet me in person at Ariba's flagship conference after I spent so much time helping them on the phone. And it didn't stop there. The positive customer feedback made it all the way back to the CEO, and Ariba awarded me their Founders Award for my efforts. And all the while, unbeknownst to those customers, I would spend my lunch hours taking my son on the swings in the backyard and reciting the ABCs, hoping that I might get him to utter something. During breaks in the afternoon, we would listen to music and dance. I picked up my guitar again so that I could learn some songs he liked and started singing to him every night as he took a bath. And I began reading books to him before he went to sleep. Then, finally, one day, out of the blue, it happened. We were swinging together, and he said his first letter.
E.
I never thought the letter E could bring me so much bliss. I said, say it again.
E.
We celebrated like it was.
It's 1999.
The letters would keep coming, and then words. We even found out later that he could sing many of the songs we had listened to so many times.
Why are there so many songs about rainbows? And what's on the other side?
He learned to read, he started playing soccer and learned to ride a bike. He became a talented artist. And most of all, he gives me hugs and says he loves me now.
I love you, Dad.
It wasn't until later that I realized that all the skills that I had learned in support, the troubleshooting skills, patience, empathy, and persistence, when I applied them to my personal life, had such a profound outcome. But that wasn't enough. Throughout our journey, as we met other families who were going through similar challenges, we knew that we had to do something more, that we needed to advocate for causes that ensured that people with disabilities were respected, protected, and cherished. And we asked our son to be part of that so that he could learn how to give back. So when Frank Lautenberg, distinguished senator from New Jersey, reached out to us regarding an environmental justice topic, we couldn't resist. My son and wife were asked to appear and speak before a Senate subcommittee on the effects of toxic chemicals on children's health. Senator Lautenberg concluded his remarks that day with,
You know, one of the things that happens when you have a healthy child, free of any major health problems, it's a beautiful sight to behold. But that doesn't mean that a child like Harrison, he's a beautiful sight to behold. And we wish you luck and well, and I thank all of you for being here.
Somehow, Harrison had become the face of this landmark safe chemicals legislation that motivated lawmakers to reach across the aisle for common good and to ensure that the chemicals that people are exposed to are safe. The bill got passed with overwhelming bipartisan support in the House and the Senate and awaited the president's signature. It was a lovely sunny day in June as we made our way on the lawn through the gates of the White House. We stopped to admire the monument of democracy that we had so revered and to take a deep breath before entering it. We were escorted through the hallowed halls of the buildings to the room where we would await the President of the United States, Barack Obama. His handshake was firm, his demeanor was jovial. He spoke to my son like he was an old friend, which my son now thinks he is. He whisked my wife away to briefly speak with her before we made our way into the chamber for the bill signing. As I sat in the audience with my son in my arms, beaming with pride as I watched my wife Lisa introduce the President of the United States from the podium that day, I realized that dreams come true when you least expect them. President Obama began his remarks.
To begin with, let me thank Lisa for the wonderful introduction, and her wonderful family is here. And I just want you to know that advocates like you, who fight every day to make this country a little bit better, are why we're here today. And we're very proud of you.
Last night, I had a dream about a better tomorrow for my son and my family, about a better tomorrow for people with disabilities, about a better tomorrow for everyone. Sometimes, when you show it enough love, life can bloom into something beyond your wildest dreams. Thank you.